Well, this isn't cool. So if you're in the tech world, you understand that a few days ago, they released um, this kind of, they removed Opus 4.5 and 4.6, which is what I used. That was my daily driver. And then they released Opus 4.7, and they basically more than doubled the price. And so it put me into a strange place of at first thinking, okay, I guess I'm going to have to use Claude Code, which I actually came up with a full extension to use this. But now, even in Claude Code, I believe if we go to switch model, they don't even give you the ability or opportunity. We could try it in the terminal here. They don't even give you the opportunity, as far as I understand, to run Opus 4.5 and 4.6. And so there might be some setting that I'm missing, but other previous specify. That's not. We could try it. In fact, let me try it. I'll pause and so with a little bit of trying, I was able to fix this. So let's now look at the extension. So a couple things we'll note. So I was able to get it to sort of say it's Opus 4.6, and we'll go ahead and I'll just show. And so we'll show that the very first time that I ran Opus 4.7, I basically it displayed this. This is the very first run that I had done of 4.7. There were other, I would liken it to the moment when GPT went to 4.5. It was kind of evident that the GPT team was trying to shave off cost. And they kind of build better benchmarks and so forth, but everybody kind of found it to be a regression. And so this is obviously what the AI world is reporting. And, in brief, I'm going to just cover, a few ways to get around this, or kind of what the current state of this is. So yeah, like we're looking at my screen, the very first time I ran 4.7, it gave me this, but then also I kind of noticed it was almost as though they had programmed this thing so that it was like they were trying to sort of, from a marketing perspective, make it seem like that the Opus 4.7 had developed its own language. So like it was using in legalese, I'll have to go find this exact character, but here we go. So this particular character, like it was basically giving me this section mark. Okay, section mark character, whatever. It was as though that, I guess, like they were trying to bill it again, as I said, like as though this thing was like a highly intelligent AI that had evolved beyond human English. So 4.7, very quickly, it kind of was like, this isn't like the retail version of Mythos is how it felt. But worse than that is that I got rate limited. And we can go kind of look at what the rate limiting looks like. So, this is unrelated to like what your budget is. And I guess there's a lot of chatter about it being opaque. So if we were to go to my specific Copilot, and we're to click on it, we can see that I'm already at 100% consumption. Let's fix this way. So we can see I'm at 100% consumption. It says I'll be reset on the 30th. But what happened was I actually hit a message that said, hey, you're all done. You're all done for here. And then we can see like my overall budget. I've gone over. So it's not budget constrained. This is different. This is related to them saying that their systems are at capacity. The news was that there was a token counting issue. And then now when we've turned it back on, you no longer can access Opus 4.6 at all. And that the only thing you have is this kind of newer ChatGPT 4.5 moment at double or more than double the cost. So that prompted me to then basically finally jump over and follow the advice of colleagues to get Claude Code. And then it's kind of been a little bit of a struggle bus to try to make Claude Code work in the ways that I'm used to. Of course, one of the, for my job, I had been using, in fact, Gemini CLI, and I just found that there's very little parity. If I wanted to add, let's say on the left-hand side here, and I wanted to add the settings file, like there's no, and we'll go over this magic thing I added in a moment, but there's no way for me to like add it to chat, adds it over here into Copilot, which is like, I could drag it into the window and like that copies it in. It's not until like you put the @ symbol in front of it that you're really pulling it in here. They do allow you to hit the Alt-K on a file in specific, and that's a way that they tell you that you're able to sort of bring it into the chat, but it's just not the same experience as I'm used to in Copilot, where I can neatly pull in files and then I can see what the diff is, and I can navigate the diff. And so, like I said, it's like in Claude Code, if I navigate to like, let's say I'm on an instructions file right now and I hit Alt-K, you can see in the window down here, it's pulled it in, but that requires, I have to click into the file, and then I have to usually get both of my hands off of my keyboard in order to, because Alt-K would take both of my hands. So it's just, it's a workflow disruption. And so I'll link in the video here. What I did was I just vibe coded an extension. And so this extension basically just gives me the ability to now just like, I can right click on a file, and at the top, I have this menu for add to Claude context. So it effectively, it does the same thing as hitting Alt-K. And in fact, that's what it's using. There's an open PR right now for like copying folders. And so what it does is, the only reason that this works costs, like I coded an extension that interacts with the Claude extension. The only reason that works is it's basically going into the file and then triggering the Alt-K shortcut. And so, it doesn't require you to have the file open. You could do it from the browser here, and it would also do it. It does what it does. The trick is that it does, in fact, just open the file, hit Alt-K on it. So that's what it's doing. And again, like this is all within the interest of like Anthropic decided to release a worse model, and then Copilot decided to say, hey, we've been miscounting tokens, and we're going to charge you double for a worse model. So that's, like a P1 level type of disruption. And so going back to like, what am I trying to focus this on here? So I have an extension that now lets you just more kind of do what you're used to in Copilot. You just right click, you can add a file in. And then today I noticed that, you can't easily, then we'll talk about this in a second. You can't easily, and you can see down here, I've kind of found a way to get Opus 4.6 back in. But until you make this change, and the magic fix is you got to go, until you make a change, you do not see Opus 4.6 available for selection. So what you have to do is you have to go into your Claude folder, your .claude in your home directory, go to settings, and then you have to set the model here directly. So, that puts us into a state where, now for myself, and you could download this extension, it's MIT license, have fun. I'm able to basically get mostly parity of what I was used to, but now I'm using a Claude Code subscription instead of a Copilot subscription. And, it's really on the level of like, I was just trying to do something simple here and trying to use Codex extra high, because in my understanding of reading benchmarks, that's what, oh man, I'm just like, it frustrates me so much. Like we can already see, in this output here, I just told it to run tests. It just introduced syntax errors. And so It's a degradation. Like Opus 4.6 was kind of magic, and so was 4.5. 4.7 again to wrap up this video, like feels like it was GPT's 4.5 moment. Like they're trying to reduce cost. They've been subsidizing it. Everybody's aware of this. Um, the fix that I found is A, get a Claude Code subscription if you don't already have one. And then B, you really have, if you set model, unless you set model specifically, they won't give you that Opus 4.6 as a model that you can select. But once you do that, and then for me with the extension, which you're welcome to also use yourself, you get a pretty close to parity with, what Copilot previously had been. So, there's a lot more to talk about on this subject. Who knows if, where things will go is we all kind of know that they're subsidizing the AI costs, and that, this is going to, this especially is true in the OpenClaw community where they just outright ban CLI usage. And so this is going to push everybody probably eventually. And like, I don't even know at the end of the day if running Open Router is effective. Like you might just want to run local models. Like I know people that are now telling me that that's what they're doing. And so that might be the direction that this all heads in, is that, as the AI companies discontinue subsidizing, or they slopify, their models, and like maybe they don't give you access to the older models. I mean, it is true. I'm looking right now, and you can still access 4.0. Just ironic. I don't know who's using 4.0 still, because Opus is so much better, but it'd be nice to think that they would still give people access if people outrage enough to 4.6. But yeah, we'll see. We don't know. Who knows? Till next time.